Hey guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over this great email I was sent from a subscriber. As from a guy, he is 36 years old, and he shares his story of how over the years, like more than a decade, he's gone from the, I'm sorry to say, clueless nice guy who the gals took advantage of, cheating on all that, to a type of guy that now has his life together, is kicking butt and taking names, and the gals are chasing after, but they can't lock him down. And you're going to see, guys, that early on he got married young and learned the hard way about that, and he put himself back together and focused on his grind, his purpose, which all guys should do primarily in their 20s when they're establishing themselves, and his kicking butt. And his experiences with the different girlfriends he's had, backing up all the things that you learn in this channel and all that, and he is all the wiser. And so he's sharing his story to help a lot of you guys out, to show you reality, as well as how you can turn your lives around and how you got to focus on yourself, your purpose, your goals. And if you make the mistakes like, turning a blind eye, letting the girl run the relationship, that type of thing, not being the leader, it's only a matter of time before BS happens like it does all the stories. A woman will never love a guy they do not respect. You got to be a leader, take charge, put you first, that type of thing. And of course, you can have a great, happy life, and you don't have to be married or in a relationship, any of that nonsense. So it's a longer video today, but kick back, and I think you guys will definitely appreciate this one. He says, SSM. I'm not certain if you'll find my story and the lessons I've learned over the years useful, but after watching a bunch of your videos over the last 4 months, I figured it couldn't hurt to send it in. Guys, all stories that you guys send in are useful. Either they're incredibly entertaining, or there's great lessons, and that can help all of us. So just don't hesitate, guys. Send your story in. Even if you don't find any value in this, I wanted to personally thank you for the work that you do. Funny enough, it was my father who shared your channel with me, and we since started watching some of the videos together. Kind of a father-son bonding time, so thanks for the entertainment. Well, shout out to your old man for pointing out my channel to you. I appreciate it. You can call me Damien. I'm 36 years old, and my dad, Craig, 59. I've always had a close relationship, but nobody would ever call my dad the hands-on or touchy-feely kind of dad. That was my dad. He has always been a man of few words, but when he talks, the smart people pay attention. Sadly, I wasn't always able to hear him, like I'm guessing most young guys who think they're smarter than their dads. Yeah, I was one of those dumbasses too, and I didn't listen to my dad on some things that I should have. Other things I did. I made a lot of mistakes over the years, and while my dad always tried to give me advice, I was either too immature or stubborn to hear him. Even when I didn't listen, he never gave me crap or rubbed my mistakes in my face. He was a dad that let me fail, picked me up, and dusted me off, and prayed I learned my lessons. That's great. You got to learn a lot of times the hard way, guys, and you fall, and then you got to learn how to get back up and back on your feet and can keep on keeping on, if you will. In most cases I did, but some of the lessons took me a bit longer to learn, such as life, I guess. There were a couple of things he always told me, and it took me a long time to fully understand what he was saying. The first and most important lesson he gave me was simple, articulate, and straight to the point. He said, "The stupid shall be punished." It was never accusatory or said in a way that made me feel like he was calling me dumb or stupid. It was simply a simple statement of fact, and the lesson I took from it was consequences. Every person, man or woman, is responsible for the consequences of their actions and decisions. Well, you're darn right about that, but a certain group, certain gender, they're not too big on accountability and consequences of their actions. Gee, who could that be? The second lesson that he beat into my head was reinforced by life was this: sometimes pain is the only teacher that makes sense. I asked him about this one, and he explained as it being akin to trying to explain to someone who never had a broken bone what it feels like. Sure, you know by common sense that a broken bone will be painful, but that knowledge can't completely express what the actual event would feel like. In those cases, you can't trust the person trying to share their wisdom, but it can never be as meaningful as the experience. The third lesson he taught me, and admittedly the one that took me the longest to understand, was about relationships in general. Well, my dad passed on wisdom about relationships and women in general too to me, and that was the one I didn't fucking listen to until I had to learn the hard way, so you're not alone. I hear people talk about being in partnerships and 50-50 relationships. Those do not exist. In theory, maybe, but in reality, one person always puts more into a relationship than the other. As the old saying goes, the person who cares the least holds the power. It's a basic power paradigm, and when the woman holds more power in the relationship, that relationship is usually on a timer before it ends. Yes, your dad is 100,000% right about that. No relationship is 50-50, and it's always best the guy is the leader in the relationship. And by and large, women want their guy to lead, unless they're the masculine women. They want to run the relationship. And when men don't lead, or they call the shots and the guys are pushovers, you all know how those relationships go. They want a fucking man. Most women will never admit it, but most of them want a leader they can follow. See? That's not to say they want to be a slave, or that men want weak women who are just cattle, but every corporation and nation has one person who makes the final decision. If it happens to be the woman in the relationship, she will lose respect for her man or outright despise him, and I think the divorce statistics back that up. Yep. But again, guys have to learn the hard way about that one. You might have noticed I haven't mentioned my mom. It's not because she's a bad person or a bad mother, but there are some lessons a man can only learn from his father. Amen to that, dude. I love my mom, but there was one thing that regardless of her desires, she was never able to do, and it wasn't her fault. A woman can teach a boy to be a good person, but it takes a man to turn a boy into a man. Just like a man could never explain to a woman what being pregnant is like. There are some things that the opposite gender is simply ill-equipped to handle. Everyone has a role. Okay, enough preaching for me, but I want to make sure I shared the lessons from my dad that apply to my story. Great. Yes, boys need a father or a male role model, but the right male role model. A good man, but a masculine role model. And so many young boys don't have that anymore because of these single-parent households, and overwhelmingly the boys go live with their mom. And moms, and we all know this darn well, by and large, moms are way easier on the boys than the girls. You know, because women know bullshit from other women. So they're tougher on the daughters. And we have a society that's catered to more to the girls now. And in the schools, you overwhelmingly have female teachers. You get the point. Boys need a masculine presence, but the right masculine presence. You know? And you can have moms that are a single mom, and who has her shit together, who's not like the stereotypical bad ones I talk about, and they can love their boys and provide for them and all that, but there are things they can't do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just like a single dad can do a lot for his daughter, but there are things that a mom is needed for. But people will lose their freaking mind, God forbid you say something like that, which I have no problem saying that. So, on to his story. He says, my first real mistake, and what I'll live the rest of my life regretting, happened about a year out of college. I was 23 years old and had been dating the woman who became my first and only wife. I'm not saying another wife someday isn't in the future is impossible, but to date, I've never met anyone that I would trust enough to tie to my future again. More on to that in a while. Lynn and I dated from our second year in college. We were both studying the same major, ended up on several projects together before we started hanging out and eventually became a couple. Between our studies, part-time work, and trying to make our relationship work, the last couple of years of school flew by. I thought we had a good thing going, and I never had any indication there was trouble in paradise. How many guys say that? There were times when we had to spend extra time studying or working on some research, but for the most part we were together and enjoying our time at school. We ended up sharing an apartment in our senior year, and I honestly thought my life was great. I worked part-time at a machine shop, which was fun because we were both going to school for mechanical engineering. I figured the extra experience would help when it came to finding a job later. Lynn did part-time tutoring at the school. She was really good at math and seemed to enjoy helping other students. Sometimes my work on her sessions would have us spending an evening by ourselves hanging out with friends. I knew most of her friends and their reputations, but I trusted Lynn. Let's remember this. I knew her friends and their reputations, but I trusted Lynn. What I tell you guys about always paying attention to a girl's friends. If they're a bunch of hoe bags, they're going to rub off on your girl, very likely. It never bothered me or gave me any concerns when she would spend time with her little group of friends, and I never ever entertained the idea she would do me wrong when she was going clubbing with them occasionally. After graduation, we both been putting resumes in all over the place and had already agreed to move to the location of who got the first job. I graduated with a 3.94 GPA and had 2 years of hands-on experience. Wow, that's amazing, man. But it was Lynn that got the first serious offer, which she accepted. We moved there. Smack! Should have smacked you earlier for letting her go in clubbing and all these other things, but I don't know, my shoulder's sore from lifting weights yesterday. Always better that she goes where you're going to go. And interesting, you have the better grades and more experience, but she's the one that gets hired first. Shocker, because she's in her early 20s and obviously good looking. Big fucking surprise. It took me nearly a year to find a job after we got there. By the time I found a position, Lynn had already had a pay raise and she was making more than me. Uh-oh. That ain't ever good. And you all know why. Not much, but more than enough to be noticeable. We ended up getting married about 6 months later. Smack! God, my shoulder's sore. Why? What's the rush? What'd your old man have to say about that? At the time, we were together for about 5 years when she came home one evening and handed me divorce papers. So, 5 years married or 5 years since you started dating? Out of nowhere, she comes home, here are the divorce papers. There was no discussion or argument. She basically said that she loved me, but it was clear to her that I wasn't motivated enough to do better, and she wasn't going to spend the rest of her life supporting a man with no motivation to do better. Translation, what the fuck's her name, Lynn? Lynn, I can't make more than my man. That's not a prize. I want a guy that makes more than me that I can feel like I bragged all my girlfriends about. Even though you're obviously graduated the 3.94 and all that, you just weren't there yet. The problem is you were focusing more energy on your relationship and getting married. Your 20s is a time, guys, to grind. Get out of school or get your certification or specialty and bust your tail at your job to become great at it, move up in your company, all that. You can get married at your right around 30 or something like that, because the odds are you guys are going to have younger chicks. And in her mind, she can monkey branch to somebody better. That sucks, dude. But we're not done with this whole thing sucking. It was painful to hear, but I didn't fight her and thankfully didn't beg her. Well, good for you. If she didn't want to be with me, that was on her. Fortunately, we hadn't been married very long, and since she was making more money than me, it was a basic 50-50 split and no alimony. I did find out for nearly 7 months after divorce from one of our old college buddies that she was cheating on me with one of the engineers at her company for most of our marriage. What a piece of garbage. And she probably felt like she was allowed to do that because he doesn't work very hard. He doesn't care about me to be motivated to move up in the world, and I got to pay for everything, you know. That was bad enough, but then I found out she had been cheating on me regularly while we were still in college. Once a cheater, always a cheater. That's fucking humiliating. Remember the part that he said that he didn't say it, but we all know that her friends were a bunch of carousel riders. She never had a job as a tutor. Her parents sent her money every month, and the tutor thing was just an excuse to go on dates with other guys. What a bitch. The whole time you thought she was tutoring and she's out hooking up with other dudes, and you never knew. And you trusted her. This is why you have the old trust but verify thing. And it sounds like there weren't any red flags. This goes to show you guys, they can be masters at covering their tracks. Many, like a game of chess. Many moves ahead of you. You got to pay attention. I felt like an idiot thinking she was different than her friends. I learned some hard lessons from that experience. It might not be fair, but I would never take a woman with a college degree seriously as a relationship material. College for most women is an open market for all the SCX they can handle while finding their idiot to lock down. I know I sound pessimistic, but that was my experience. Dude, your experience is very similar to a lot of other guys' experiences and viewpoints. Yeah, they ride the carousel until they find that nice guy who who can provide and all that, and to marry them so they can get a ring on their finger, the ceremony, all that. I'm guessing all her bridesmaids and her maid of dishonor were all her hoe bag carousel rider friends from college, and they all knew. You're up there at the altar, oh, I love you so much, baby, and saying your vows, whatever you say, and they're all like, oh, Jesus, she shouldn't be wearing a white dress, because they knew the truth. I'm sorry. So there I was at the beginning of my career, 25 years old and divorced. The only saving grace I can think of is that we didn't have any kids. Other than that, the last 5 years of my life was a complete waste of time, energy, and money. I ended up moving a couple of months after the divorce was complete. Thankfully, my company had a position in another state and I took it. For the next couple of years, I was angry and I put that anger into my job. I worked my tail off almost to the point of being fanatical. It paid off. Within 4 years of my transfer, I had multiple pay raises and 2 promotions. The last one was a position of a project team leader. I was making good money and I loved my job. Dude, what I say earlier about your 20s being the time to grind, because you got the energy, not chasing relationships. You should be chasing success. Listen to me, guys. Working your tail off, putting money away, invest, living beneath your means so you get extra cash every month to invest in whatever you want to invest in. An asset that can give you a return. Yes, there is room for some fun, but you get my point. Look what happened when he was done with her after what happened, and he put all his energy into, right? You follow me? However, I was lonely. I had a few friends I spent time with, but for the most part, I spent my time working. Well, you get yourself a good dog, or a couple dogs, or like me, a couple cats. It was just after I turned 30 years old when I met Amber, 28. Amber, huh? Yeah, that name's trouble. I was still a bit gun-shy around women, but she was fun and seemed to really like me. For the first few months, she was chasing me hard, and I let her catch me. I'm not sure when it happened, but after we've been together about 2 years, the tables were turned, and I found myself chasing her. Smack! Guys should never chase. Let them chase. It's always a better situation. Hence the whole power dynamic you were talking about in the beginning of the story. Because in the beginning you were numb and you're like, whatever. But then maybe this girl can be different. That's what you're thinking. And you started letting her have the power. And watch this. I didn't even notice it when it happened. I was telling my parents about my plans to propose to her when my dad took me to his garage. After a second marriage, I'm sure your dad probably had his slapping hand ready. This was his man cave, and after a case of beer and who knows how many games of darts, he asked me some questions that I did not have an answer for. I think the one that really hit me the hardest was when he asked me, when was the last time she did something for you without the expectation of a reward? I honestly couldn't think of anything recently, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized that at some point she stopped chasing me and I was chasing her. She held all the power in the relationship, and when I was forced to look at it from an outside perspective, my dad only said to me one thing. He said, "The stupid shall be punished," and he went to bed. Your old man is awesome. Exactly. Do you think your dad and you think in your parents' relationship that your mom ran the show? No. Your dad ran the show, and I'm sure he was a loving husband, but I'm sure if there's any BS, he checked her, and you get the point. You're going down the same path you did the first time around. You know, there's that saying about the definition of insanity. You all know that. It took me about a month to put everything into perspective, and I seriously couldn't remember the last time she put me first in anything. We didn't live together, but I paid for all of our dates, and it was me that changed my plans to spend time with her. Smack! Bro, you had it made in the beginning, and then what changed? You started missing the relationship and all that. You're paying for everything? Why can't she fucking pay for things? Why are you changing all your plans to make her happy? That screams pushover, weak bitch. And do women respect and love pushovers and weak bitches? No. Don't marry them so they can have a ring and all that. Remember, you said Amber is 28 years old. 30's coming up. Trust me. She thought she found her pushover nice guy. Meanwhile, they cheat with and hook up with other dudes. And given your behavior here, I wouldn't be surprised if Amber had Johnny Depp and other guys out there. If she had something going on, it was always too important to change her plans. But if she wanted to do something, anything I had going on was always negotiable. When we broke up, it was ugly. Well, thank God you broke up with her. And thank God for your old man. She called and told me one afternoon while I was at work that she wanted me to take her somewhere nice for her upcoming birthday. And by nice, she meant somewhere with a lot of sun, sand, and ocean. Oh yeah? Where'd you take me on my birthday? The fucking Kentucky Fried Chicken? We've been dating a little more than 2 years, and that was when I realized that not only has she never done anything for me for my birthday, I couldn't even remember her giving me a present or card. Self-absorbed, huh? That was when I realized that she probably didn't even care enough about me to know when my birthday was, and that was the question that ended our relationship. I asked her to tell me when my birthday was, and instead of giving me an answer, she got angry and started telling me that I was acting like a child. Gaslighting. So guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been around the block at this point, realize you're probably like, dude, you have all the power, you just don't realize it because you're the guy. She's with you because she obviously wants to get married one day. She's 28. Walk the fuck away. If she doesn't treat you the way you want to be treated, if she doesn't pay for things and treat you with love like you treat her, walk away. Because a guy who's successful, is making something himself in this world, takes care of himself, has plenty of options. You just didn't realize it. Then she said the last words to me that I ever let her say. She said, "It doesn't matter when your birthday is. If you want to be with me, you put me first." Now, what girl says that? One who thinks that her guy is eating out of the palm of her hand. That type of girl. And do you want to be that guy? No. She might have said something after that, but I didn't hear it. I hung up and blocked her on everything. Good for you. It was clear at that moment that the only thing she saw me for was a source of entertainment, and I'm nobody's dancing monkey. Of course, that was the end of it, but I never saw her face to face again. Most of my friends we had in common tried to tell me what a bastard I was for a few months until they all got cussed out and also blocked. I have no idea if she ever cheated on me, but I wish nothing but sympathy for the next guy that falls into her web. Of course you're the bad guy in this situation, and I'm glad you cut off all those jackasses that were giving you a hard time. Good for you. Every so often in life, guys, we got to evaluate our lives and take a look at everything and start distancing ourselves from people that just don't bring anything but drama or bullshit to our lives. It says, SSM, I'm sorry this is so long, but I need to explain how I got to where I am. Bro, I'm enjoying your story. I'm sure all the guys watching this are enjoying your story, so it's cool. After Amber, I refocused myself on my job and started hitting the gym. Hey, good for you. I've never been a gym rat, but we all know how the metabolism starts to slow down the older you get, and I didn't like the way I was feeling and looking. I wish I could say that I took up martial arts and turned into a badass, but I did not. It's never too late. I didn't start training in martial arts hardcore until I was right before my 36th birthday. I earned my black belt when I was, how fucking old was I? 41. 2 martial arts, I trained hardcore 6 years. Loved it. You're not too old. Unless you have a bad injury like a shoulder injury and you can't throw punches, or a leg injury, you can't do kicks, you can do it. I started going to the gym, got a personal trainer, Todd, who's 27, and changed my diet. For anyone that has lived a lifetime of bad eating habits, you know how hard it is to change your diet, but I stuck to it. I also started taking yoga classes at the insistence of Todd. I didn't want to at first, but he convinced me that I could do it and not wear spandex. In addition to my cardiac weight training, I also needed to maintain my flexibility. Flexibility is very important, guys. Don't forget that. I'm not going to lie, my first class was one of the most uncomfortable and embarrassing experiences of my life. Who cares? I'm sure there are a lot of hotties in there whose asses in the tight yoga pants you can look at while you're doing your thing. Everybody was a beginner at some point, guys. So anything you want to try new and you feel like a clumsy fool, who cares? Everybody started from scratch at some point. You'll get better. After that first day, I told Todd that I did not want to continue, and he took me to the office in the gym and asked me why. I told him I felt uncomfortable and I expected him to laugh at me or treat me like a little kid, but he surprised me. He told me that until I stopped worrying about what other people think of me, I would never progress in physical fitness. Yeah, guys, you can't give a shit what people think. He said, you're doing this for you, not for them. Who cares what they think? Then he told me that he's been doing yoga for 2 years and it was some of the most complete exercise there is. I'm not going to call him Yoda, but he convinced me to give it at least 2 months before I made my decision, and I did. Between my regular gym time and the yoga, I felt better than I had in a long time. This is why I tell you guys, you should all exercise, especially you guys that are getting over hardships in your life. You'll feel better. After 2 months, I was sold. He even convinced me to start taking 1 class for Tai Chi once a week, and I was hooked by the 3rd week. Fast forward 3 years, I was almost 34, and I was in the best physical and mental health of my life. I had a great diet and regular exercise, and it's hard to explain, but I can't think of a time in my life that my mind was more clear and I was calm. Yes, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to write that. All you guys out there that know darn well you got to exercise and lose weight and take care of yourselves, listen to this. Make it happen. Hire a trainer, join a gym, make that change today, or if you're watching this tonight, make it tomorrow. You get the point. Now that paid off with another promotion at work, and I was no longer lonely. Another promotion at work. Awesome. After a few years in the gym, I made a lot of friends, both men and women, and some of the women even turned into some occasional dates. I also had some of the women at work that started to show some interest in me, but I've always taken my dad's words to heart. He said to never eat where you crap, which equated to don't mix business with pleasure. Yes, thank God you listened to that one. You're doing great in your career, and people want to F it all up because some hottie is across the halls checking them out. Do you know the problems that could occur that could destroy your career? No. Never, ever, ever. Plenty of chicks elsewhere. I was 34 when I met Cassie, 32 years old. Oh, enter Cassie. She was a regular member at the gym, and over time we'd become friends, and in some ways closer than friends. But it was after knowing her for more than a year before we went on our first date. I never took anything seriously, and we were only having fun. If that's what you want, that's what you want. Remember, Cassie's 32. It worked for both of us, and I was under no illusions that we weren't monogamous. My job required travel at least once a month, and when I was in town and had time, we would meet up for a date, or she would accompany me to one event or another. I liked her, but there was nothing in the relationship that ever indicated that we were more than friends with the occasional benefit. Okay, and I'm sure you made abundantly clear, that and your past and all that. But of course, they think, oh, he'll be different. I can change his mind. There were other women that I would occasionally see, and I assumed that Cassie also had other men that she would spend time with. In short, there was nothing serious about our relationship. Basically, we would spend time together when it was convenient for both of us, but there were no expectations or anything more. I learned from my own trials that she was a lot of fun to spend time with, but she was not somebody that I would ever take seriously. It worked for the both of us. So you think, and I'm assuming that you obviously always wore protection, disposed your protection, and didn't believe any bull crap that she was on the pill. It was a few months after my 35th birthday when our relationship came to an end. It's not because I didn't like her, far from the truth. I liked her a lot, but in the year we've been together, it was clear to me from her actions that I was just one of the men in her life. Shocker. I was fine with that, and yes, I never did anything with her or other women without a condom. I was fine with that, and I never took anything too seriously, mostly because she never gave me any indication that she saw me anything more than a good time. Imagine my surprise when she confronted me one afternoon with a question about that ended our relationship. I'm sure you all know this question. It's happened to us all. We were at my condo having lunch when she got a serious expression on her face and asked me where I thought our relationship was going. Where do you think? And what relationship? We hang out and we fuck. That's about it. You ain't relationship material, sweetheart. And I ain't getting fucking married after my first go around. I didn't understand what she was asking and asked her to clarify what she meant. Dude, come on, you knew what she meant. She told me that she thought that we made a good couple and asked me why I hadn't asked her to become a dedicated couple. Keep in mind that until then, the only thing we had ever done was to go on a few trips together and spend a few nights a month together. Yeah, well, if she really wanted you, she probably would have given you this conversation much quicker than a year later. I asked her what she was talking about, and she told me that she loved me and thought we could have a future together. The only thing going through my mind were the words of my father, "The stupid shall be punished." At first, I didn't have much to say other than, "What are you talking about?" She said she thought we made a great couple and that she was thinking that we should take our relationship to the next level and eventually build a family. She doesn't sound like relationship material to me, let alone wife or mother material. But she's 32. Maybe she's 33 at this point. She wants a ring on her finger. It was a discussion that had never even crossed my mind, and I'm fairly certain that she saw how confused I was. I did like her, but in the year we've been dating, and he says dating's in quotes like dating, I never changed any plans to be with her, but if I was available and she was available, we'd catch a dinner and a movie and have some fun. I never gave her any indication that we were more than that, and I was surprised that she even brought it up. Ring on the finger. And probably you were the best option for her amongst the different guys that she would hang out with. I never asked her about what or who else she was doing in her own life, but it was advice from my mom that helped me understand something I had never even considered. It says, SSM, I know you say to never take advice from women, but what my mom said made sense to me. Now listen what he's about to say that his mother says to him, and I will say my piece after that. His mom said that a woman who's attracted to you and in love with you will not sit back and wait for an entire year knowing you're out there with other women. She'll try to lock you down as quickly as possible before some other women can. When I asked her why a woman would wait a year before bringing up a serious relationship, my mom laughed for a long time. She said that a woman would wait that long to make her claim was still looking for a better option, and women like that never stop looking for better options regardless of her relationship status. Maybe my mom was wrong, but it made sense to me. Bro, your mom is 100% right, and go give your mom a hug for saying that to you. So, you know what our mentor and spiritual guide Al Bundy always says about women. Women understand women. Don't try to understand women. Women understand women. They hate each other. Your mom understands women. Okay? When I say don't take dating advice, relationship advice, pickup advice from women, just like you don't ask a fish how to catch a fish, you ask a fisherman how to catch a fish, I mean it. Because they don't like a lot of things that guys do to emotionally for them to respond emotionally. You get the point. And the crap that's done. However, if you ask a woman about female nature and it's your mom who cares and loves about you, then that's a situation where that's okay. And your mom explained female nature right away to you. She's looking for her best option and will always be looking for her best option, this girl you're with. So absolutely, your mom is right. And by the way, I have known women throughout my lives that in varying degrees got some things and would repeat some things that I do talk about. But I have never in my entire life ever met a gal that 100% backed up the things that both myself as many of you guys have learned along the way. I've known some that agree with some things, but never the whole thing. So remember that. It was a few weeks after she brought up the idea of us being a couple when I let her know that I was not interested in a solid relationship, but that I enjoyed our time together. F you, motherfucker! That if she was looking for marriage and a family, she would need to find someone else. Cassie wasn't very happy about it, but we parted on good terms. She asked if we could continue to date, how we had been, but I told her that it would be best if we parted on good terms, and that was that. Very smart. Because the next thing you know, she's like, oops, I'm pregnant, that type of thing. She kept in contact for a few months after that, but when she figured out that I wasn't going to change my mind, she stopped. Maybe someday she'll find someone to buy what she's selling, and I hope she does, and I hope she's happy. For me, after taking a look at my life, where I am, and where I'm going, I can't think of any reason to get married again. Why would you? Now, in fairness, your first time around, you were too young, and you were completely unaware of the reality that is female nature and dating and relationships and all the good, bad, and ugly of reality of the R pill. But still, and of course, you turn a blind eye and were blind to your college girlfriend's bullshit. But even then, with all this knowledge, why would you? You're a guy that obviously likes having success, likes your single life. Why would you fuck that up? You know? And you obviously enjoy women's company. You can have relationships, but marriage going through all that shit again? I think it would take a lot for you to do that stuff, and you'll certainly be hearing your dad's words in your head. I'm sure some of the stories I see on the internet, watching my friends going through divorces, and my own experiences have tempted my attitude, but at this stage of my life, I can't think of any acceptable risk for losing half of everything I've worked so hard for. Then don't do it. Period. You hold all the cards, dude. A lot of guys just don't realize this. I know you're realizing it now. The thing is, you're going to have a lot of gals, because you're obviously a catch and do well for yourself, are going to be chasing you always. And if you're always that indifferent guy that has a good time with them, but doesn't take them too seriously, and certainly you're not going to give them anything, you're going to have a lot of gals that are going to come and go in your life, if you can handle that. I'm not in the camp that I'll never get married again, but I haven't met any women in my adult life that passed the girlfriend test, let alone the wife test. For those who have found the person, I'm jealous. By this point, the only thing I see marriage is assisted suicide. Even if my story doesn't end up in a video, my dad and I want to thank you for the work you do. Have a great year, SSM. Bro, this is a great story, and I'm glad you're doing so well, and shout out to your old man for giving the great advice, and shout out to your mom for telling what she told you. She was right. I agree completely with her. And bro, I think you just need to keep living your life and doing what you enjoy. Your career is great. You're in great shape. You're enjoying working out. I'm glad I got a new gym guy on the channel. And just go from there. And obviously just be careful with who you get involved with, and always wear protection and all that. And who knows what may come down the road. And if one day you meet some gal that actually is worth your time and is traditional and loyal and loving, and they're out there, they're just more and more rare, then if you get on that path, you know how to handle things in your relationship with her that's not going to, spiral out of control. And you know the things to look for and to check her and put yourself first. And you most certainly will know about an ironclad prenup, amongst many other things, if indeed you decide to get married one day. Because I've learned in life, guys, never say never. I've done that before in life, and I've, had to say, yeah, I was wrong. So, but you'll be armed and dangerous with all this knowledge, and better prepared to handle a situation if you go down that path. But there's no rush, and if you never do that, who cares? And I'm going to assume that your parents are cool and aren't pressuring you into that bull crap. Clearly not your dad, although your mom and your dad may one day want to become grandparents, but you didn't mention if you have any brothers or sisters. If you do, let them do that and give them grandkids. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Give this guy a shout out. Give his old man a shout out that this guy's doing well. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.